This video is about a society of cheaters / college scandal and other evidence of the pervasive cheating nature of our society. An identification of the facts and then the principle for the solution. Let's start with the most recent college scandal, which was that people paid to commit fraud, and they had a well-organized scam, fraudulent actions, illegal actions to obtain entrance into the college by their children. Now, I was thinking that is not at all surprising, since it is pervasive in the classrooms for students to cheat, and all the polling suggests that more or less, as I recall, 80% of the students admit to cheating. So why does this happen? Why is it that so many students cheat, and these parents that try to get their children into college went to either even farther distance and from the law and from morality? Well, the principle is very simple, or the reason is simple. We'll get to the principle in a second. That there aren't any consequences. So most students will cheat because they're rarely caught, and when they're caught, there's not a big consequence. Now, in my own personal life, I, of course, was confronted with this exact issue: should I cheat or not? Basically, I didn't cheat because I didn't trust other people's judgment more than mine. So I can't really recall in high school or college, I just went to a state college, ever cheating. But I do recall one instance in law school, and it's very hard to cheat in law school, at least the one I went to, because all the questions are essay questions. So, to try to copy someone's essay is pretty difficult. But I had a standard way since grade school to sit in the front of the class right next to the teacher, so neither could I cheat nor anybody else could look at my exam paper. But in this one case in law school, I got there late, so I was in the back row. And, well, what were the students doing? There was a multiple choice section in the test, which was very unusual. And so the students were passing the papers in the back from one side to the other, and of course the paper had to go through me. And guess what? I took a look and saw a question that I was doubtful on. I changed it, and guess what? I got it wrong. Anyway, I learned my lesson, and that was it for cheating. So that's my personal story about academic cheating. And the important point is that when students cheat, they don't suffer any consequence. So that's the main thing. Now, in other aspects of life, I noticed that there's a lot of cheating going on, and once I made a good amount of money in property development. Actually, I was a small developer, not a lot of money, but I had enough money to live, and I did have a vanity project, which was a restaurant. It was very popular. It was like a restaurant, small restaurant, disco. It was always full, but I wasn't making any money because the restaurant industry is full of cheaters. And the reason why there are so many cheaters in the restaurant industry, well, they steal, and if you catch them, they just go to another restaurant job. So, and nobody prosecutes them. Now, I had 6 managers, 5 of which were thieves, and one of them, when he knew I was going to fire him, he ran away with the cash register. I tried to catch him, but it was impossible. And I tried to prosecute him, and I couldn't even find him. So that's why the people cheat in the restaurant business. That I figured out, they don't get prosecuted. So that is, there's no consequence for cheating. So the incentive is to cheat. Now, we went through the subprime crisis, the 2008 economic financial crisis, a downturn, and one of the immediate causes for that was that the rating agencies, they bundled subprime mortgages with AAA mortgages, and then they told everyone that they were AAA. That's a specific, exact fraud. Not to mention other aspects and fraudulent aspects. Well, did anybody get prosecuted? Absolutely not. So, again, we see that the cause of this cheating is that the people that do the cheating don't suffer the consequence. So, as any proper principle is derived from induction of specific facts and then integrating them into a principle, I think the principle is pretty clear. As if you have a lot of cheating in different areas of your society with no consequence, well, then people will be incentivized to cheat. So what's the solution? There's got to be consequences. So at least in this college scandal, they caught them, and there will be consequences. But generally, in all these aspects, and there's probably more, but I'm talking about personal experience, they don't get caught, and when they do get caught, there's no punishment, or it's very mild, so the incentive is always there. So the solution, obviously, is there has to be consequences. If there's consequences, and this applies in criminal actions when people commit fraud or violence, initiate force against people or threat of force, the main thing is that they have to be caught and punished. It's not so important how big the punishment is. So this is another thing that's going on, and that's why we have a lot more crime than we need to have. If the government wasn't wasting its time on all these victimless crimes, and they could concentrate on areas where there are victims, either from fraud or from threat of force or actual force, then a much higher percentage of the criminals would be caught, and it would become common knowledge that when you commit a crime, you're exposed to actual consequences. So people focus on big sentences. That's really not that important. They have to be caught, and then when they go to prison, they cannot continue to steal from the taxpayers by forcing them to foot the bill on their food and other expenses. So the principle in prison should be, if you don't work, you don't eat. And you would see people learning the right principle, which is not to pursue the unearned. And that's something that I figured out in my own life very early on, and to why I attribute a lot of my business success, because I was perceived as honest by my clients, and therefore they were willing to entrust their money with me. And the lesson here is that a lot of people don't realize. Everybody knows that in business you want to be perceived as honest. But what they don't realize, some of them, is that the best way to look honest is to be honest. So when you are honest, it's clear that you're honest and you don't have to fake anything. I also noticed that I had no desire to abscond with other people's money, even though they were large sums. So it was a good opportunity to get an insight into my soul. So in the criminal justice society, we have the same problem. And the criminal justice organization and governmental run criminal justice, very few of the people get caught. And probably that's why Jesse instituted that racist hoax, because he thought, I did it once, nothing happened. There's very little probability that I'll get caught. If I get caught, I'm black, so I can complain, etc. So there's my social commentary on the issue of the day. I just wanted to expand it to a general notion. We really have a society of cheaters, and the solution is they need to suffer consequences. If the percentage of people that commit the immoral act were caught, a higher percentage, then they would be disincentivized to continue to violate other people's rights. Thank you.